Dr. R. Sugaraj Samuel. He is working as a professor in physics at New College, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BIT SAT. He has more than 16 years experience in both teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals, which is prescribed for the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has presented papers in several national and international conferences and has also conducted many training programs and workshops to motivate energetic students. His research areas are ultrasonic, polymers, crystal growth and photovoltaic systems. He is experienced in both regular classroom teaching and online teaching as well.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in BSc Honours in Physics. We have been discussing about the topics related to electricity and magnetism. In today's lecture, we are going to learn about some of the network theorems which are used for simplifying the complicated networks. Already we know the concepts of Thevenin and Norton theorem. In continuation, we are going to learn about the superposition theorem, maximum power transfer theorem and finally the reciprocity theorem. What is the need for the network theorems when the electrical circuits become a cumbersome one with too many components connected in the circuit? Simplifying the circuit with the conventional rules like Kirchhoff's voltage law, Kirchhoff's current law and Ohm's law will no longer be easy. For that purpose, we depend very much on the network simplification theorems. The most commonly used theorems, namely Thevenin and Norton theorem, are familiar to us. In continuation to that, we are going to learn the other three theorems in this lecture. To start with, we will take up the superposition theorem for our discussion. We will see the definition for superposition theorem. The superposition theorem states that in a linear circuit with several sources, the current and voltage for any element in the circuit is the sum of the currents and voltages produced by each source acting independently. Though the statement is simply made, it is not that clear for us. The word superposition itself says one is considered independent of the other and then we have to superimpose. Independently we have to consider each source like voltage source or current source, the effect, and then superimpose all of them to find out the net effect of those sources on a particular element that is present in a circuit. So, in simple, this is the theorem. To understand it fully, we may have to take up an example and work on the example so that we get the full understanding of the theorem. But we have just stated the theorem with this. Now, what are the steps to be followed to implement this theorem? Let us see what are the stages we need to follow for this theorem. To calculate the contribution of each source independently, all the other sources must be removed or replaced as follows. When removing the voltage source, its voltage must be set to 0, which is equivalent to replacing it with a short circuit. When removing the current source, its current must be set to 0, which is equivalent to replacing it with an open circuit. We have just seen how the voltage source and current source are to be replaced when we consider the effect of any one considered source, maybe a voltage source or a current source that is present in the circuit. Let us see the highlighted points once again. so that we keep the catch in mind. The important two terms are to be kept in mind. So, let us have the information once again in front of us. What does it say? The voltage source, what source is to be removed? The other sources. When we consider the effect of one source, the other sources are to be removed. If it is a voltage source, that has to be replaced with a short circuit. What is short circuit? We have to connect the two terminals with a wire which offers 0 resistance. So, that is the meaning. In the same way, when we have a current source, it should produce 0 current. That means what? It should be open circuited. We have to remove the two terminals and keep it open, that is unconnected. The disconnection should be there in the place of the current source. When we have a visual in front of us, that will enhance our understanding. So, let us see how the replacing has to be done with this simple circuit. Look at this example. This example is a very interesting example because it has the voltage source present here and also the current source. See, this is the voltage source and this is the current source and one more voltage source is present. So, what is asked in this question? Find the Vx in the following circuit. What is Vx? The voltage across this 4 ohm. The ohm marking is not done, but we have to keep in mind these are all the resistors. 4 ohm, 5 ohm, 6 ohm, 7 ohm and 8 ohm are all connected in this manner in this circuit. Now, using the superposition theorem, we need to find out what is the value Vx. The voltage sources are there, current sources are there. So, at a time we have to keep any one source and replace the other sources. That means, their effects are not going to be there in the circuit. How they are to be replaced? If it is a voltage source, that has to be short circuited. If it is a current source, that has to be open circuited. Why short circuited and open circuited? It is when the voltage source, while removing, when it is short circuited, it does not contribute anything to the circuit because it is connected just like that. Same way, when there is a current source, that has to be open circuited, that means it is removed, it cannot contribute any current to the circuit, that is the meaning. So, let us divide this problem into various steps. Definitely you could have guessed how many steps are needed. There are 3 sources. Look at the diagram once again, the picture I will explain. Here we have a 2 volt voltage source and 1 ampere current source and again a 3 volt voltage source. So, there are 3 sources, 2 voltage sources and 1 current source. All these are present in the circuit. So, definitely we may have to adapt 3 steps, so that each one's effect is going to be analyzed. So, let us start with the first step. We have to consider any one source in the circuit and remove or replace the other. Let us see how it is done. The voltage Vx can be found by solving 3 steps, one circuit for each source, as I have said. Now, when we want to find out the net effect, this equation can be used. The Vx is the summation of the Vx due to the 2 volt source, this is the voltage source, and Vx due to the 1 ampere current source and the Vx due to the 3 volt voltage source. So, these are to be added after we find out these values independently. What are these values? I would like to highlight upon that. See, this we have to find out and this we have to find out, this we have to find out separately to find out the net effect in this manner. And when we want to find out the effect of one, the remaining 2 should be replaced. The replacing technique we have just learnt. So, let us now start with the step 1, that is the first process. See, this is how it is done. The step 1, we keep the 2 volt source alone here. The current source is replaced, that means it is open circuited, it is not present, and here we had a 3 volt voltage source that is short circuited. So, these are the 2 things we need to keep in mind, and This is the equivalent circuit for the step 1. And if you carefully look at this, the current does not flow, the current that is coming out from the 2 volt is not going to flow through this segment, the 6 ohm, through that the current will not flow, because that does not have a continuity, it does not have the return path. Maybe if it is provided with some continuity path elsewhere, it would flow. So, in that segment the current will not flow, so they are ineffective, they are inactive electrically. So, why to keep them? Remove. So, that is what is done in the second circuit. See, that section is not needed because it is ineffective. So, we have this voltage divider circuit in front of us, the 4 ohm and 5 ohm. We have to find out what is the Vx. So, that Vx is calculated using this voltage divider formula, and we calculate that value as 0.89 volt, and this is the first step answer. This is the Vx due to the 2 volt source alone. Now, one more time we have to do for the other source. Shall we take up the current source now, because that can be taken as the second source present in the circuit. Let us now go ahead with the step 2. In the step 2, see, current source is alone kept here, the current source is here. I would like to highlight upon that. The current source is present here, the voltage source is replaced by short circuit, this voltage source is also replaced with a short circuit. Once again, when we carefully observe this, the current is alone given by the current source. When we look at this section, see, the current enters and returns here as such, though there is a current division happening across the 7 and 8, current is of course flowing, but the net effect, if you see what current flows here is coming back here, that there is no great thing in this section, because our area of interest is not this. We are not going to find out the current through any of these resistors. Our aim is to find out the current through this 4 ohm. So, why to worry about all this? So, do not worry about, because the current enters and returns back. Do not worry about the current division happening here. Now, it makes our work again easy. We need to find out what is the current division happening between the 4 ohm and 5 ohm. Now, we have to use the current division formula. All these formulae are familiar to us, we have to recap them if we are not that thorough with the voltage division and current division concept. So, with that help we can just find out what is the current that is flowing through the 4 ohm. I would like to highlight upon that equation now. So, this is the current division equation. The Ix is the net current, 1 ampere is the total current, and we have to take the other resistor in the numerator. This is the other 2 resistors. If you want to find out the current through the 4 ohm, we have to put the other resistor on the top. So, this is the very basic concept in the current division network, and now we can calculate what is the current. See, thus the current going the other way in 4 ohm alone is calculated, and we have found that value as 0.56 ampere. Using Ohm's law, we can find out what is the voltage, and this is the voltage. Now, we have introduced the minus sign. I have to explain the reason for the minus sign, and we calculate the voltage due to this current across the 4 ohm as 2.22 volt. And why this minus sign? Why it is taken as negative? Now, look at the current direction. Once again, come back to the circuit. See, the current is flowing the other way. See, this is the arrow mark they have shown. The current flows in the reverse manner, though this point is taken as positive and negative. According to our equation, this has to be taken as positive negative, but the current flows in the other way and returns. So, we have taken the current as a negative current. It is a conventional thing that we follow. When the regular assumed direction, when the current flows, we will get a positive value. If the current flows in the opposite direction to the assumed direction, then we have to put a minus sign. That is what is done. because it is a superposition concept. The plus and minus are to be taken carefully. Hope you have understood the step 2. Now, we will move on to the third step. If you have understood the first 2 steps carefully, third step also will be somewhat easier to you. So, let us see what is the third step. In the third step, we are keeping the 3 volt source alone in the circuit. The current source and the voltage source, they are replaced according to the rule. Now, you look at this section. This section again is ineffective. This part is again ineffective, and fortunately the resistor of interest, the 4 ohm, falls in the section which is ineffective. The current is not going to flow and come back, it is not having a return path. So, what is the voltage drop across the 4 ohm due to this modified circuit? Any guess? Have a look at the circuit. Because the current is not flowing, the current does not have a return supply. So, the current will not enter into this section at all. Because of that, what is the voltage drop across this? Hope you would have correctly guessed it, no current flows. So, the current must be 0. Then the voltage due to the 3 volt on the 4 ohm is again 0. So, that does not have any role. Though we call it as a superposition theorem, the third source does not have any effect on the 4 ohm resistor. So, is it not interesting? Though we separately find out the effect, any one source may not have an effect on the resistor. So, that is a very easy thing to do. So, this calculation is not at all needed. Now, our role is to sum them up, sum up the effect of each source with the sign that is attached to each value and find out the voltage. Shall we see the last step, how it is done? See, this is the solution. Vx is, this is the answer we got by the first step, this is the answer we got by the second step with a minus sign, and third step, of course, that source does not have any role, and we finally get the voltage across the 4 ohm resistor as minus 1.33 volt. So, though we have taken this point as plus and this point as minus, the voltage is going to be on the other hand. What we have taken as negative will become a positive, and what we have taken as positive will become a negative terminal, because the answer what we have got is a minus answer. So, this is how we have to interpret. So, when we have a negative value as the answer, we can explain it very comfortably. So, that is the advantage of the superposition theorem. Hope you have understood the concept of superposition theorem fully, and this can be done without imposing the superposition theorem. I leave it to you. If you are interested, take up the same original circuit, the question, and without using this theorem, you try to do the calculations on your own. It will be very cumbersome, not that easy. Here it is very easily done, and you will know the difference. Shall we move on to the next theorem? That theorem is the maximum power transfer theorem. This is also sometimes used in reducing a complicated network. So, we will see what is the statement we have for maximum power transfer theorem. Have the statement. Maximum power transfer theorem simply states that the maximum amount of power will be delivered to a load resistance when that load resistance is equal to the internal resistance, which could be of course calculated using the theorem like Thevenin and Norton. So, they are called the Thevenin and Norton resistance of the network supplying the power. In simple, if you want to say what is the maximum power transfer, if you want the maximum power to be transferred to a load, the load resistance should be equal to the internal resistance of the circuit. That internal resistance will be the Thevenin equivalent or the Norton equivalent resistance. So, that is the simple theorem. Is there any proof that why should we have the load resistance equal to that of the internal resistance? There are lots of misconceptions around this theorem in understanding it. When we say maximum power transfer, the word transfer is not properly utilized or properly understood. It is not the maximum power theorem. It is not that the circuit would give the maximum power to the load, not that, but maximum power transfer, it is transferred. So, we have to be very careful in using the term transfer. Let us see some sort of mathematical steps so that we could plug in the areas where we are likely to get the misconception. So, let us see how it is explained. The theorem results in maximum power transfer and not the maximum efficiency. This is a misconception I have mentioned earlier. I would like to underline that maximum power transfer and it is not the maximum efficiency. These two are different terms altogether. We will get the clarity what is there between the power transfer and maximum efficiency. So, efficiency is something different and maximum power transfer is something different. We will one by one learn and try to decipher the difference between them. Now, let us read further. If the resistance of the load is made larger than the resistance of the source, then efficiency is higher, since a higher percentage of the source power is transferred to the load, but the magnitude of the load power is lower since the total circuit resistance goes up. Have you understood this statement? I would like to dwell at length in giving the explanation for this. See, when we have a circuit, in this circuit we have this as the load part, okay, and this is the internal resistance and we have the voltage source here. The theorem says the RS and this RL should be equal, or the other way, the RL should be equal to RS, so that the maximum power is transferred to this RL, that is the meaning. But if we have this RL greater than this RS, we have a tendency as if the entire load gets the maximum power, but in that case look at the net resistor, the net resistor itself is shooting up. Able to understand, if RL is increased to get the maximum power at it, then the total resistor of the circuit itself is increasing. Similarly, no, let us increase the internal resistance. Even in that case also the net resistor is increased, that will affect the power that is produced by the circuit itself. So, it is not the case of efficiency, but what is the condition so that the maximum power is transferred to the load, that is our idea. So, let us concentrate on the explanation. If we define the efficiency eta as the ratio of the power dissipated by the load to power developed by the source, then from the circuit diagram we have the following discussion. There are quite easy steps to understand the theorem. Let us do them. See, here the efficiency is given as the load resistor divided by load resistor and the source resistor. So, this is what is the efficiency. When we carefully rewrite it for this kind of expression, we have a ratio in the denominator, the two are same, one and the same. The two, are you able to understand, the two expressions are one and the same, this expression and this expression, they both are one and the same, only it is modified so that we have a ratio in the denominator for our discussion. If R load and R source are equal, the efficiency becomes 0.5. On the other hand, if R load is infinity and R source is 0, then the eta becomes 1, which is the ideal condition, but even in that case the power produced is very less, because R load is infinity, that will increase the entire load of the circuit, the total resistance of the circuit. Similarly, the other extreme, If R load becomes 0, then the efficiency totally becomes 0. So, this is what somebody immediately tries to understand. But when we want the maximum power to be transferred, we have to understand the other mathematical explanation that we are going to have. So, look at the graph. This shows how the efficiency, this darker one is the efficiency, and this red color curve shows the ratio, the power at the load to the power maximum. So, that is increasing and then slowly it is decreasing. The maximum is obtained when this ratio RL and RS is 1. That means, RL and RS must be equal. That is the meaning. No, I would like to write on that and show you that if RL and RS, if this is equal to 1, then what do we get? RL is equal to RS. So, this is what we need to now prove. Let us go ahead with the proof. For the given circuit, we can analyze the current expression is this. I need not much explain, and then the power at the load is I square RL and accordingly modified and further simplified. The RL is taken inside because there is a square here, and this denominator, if it is minimum, then the power at the load is maximum. So, that kind of explanation we are going to have. So, we need to differentiate the lower term, that is the denominator. That is done here, and when we equate it to 0 and then finally get the expected answer, RS is equal to RL, and whether this is the maximum or this expression is minimum, so that the PL is maximum. For that, what we need to do, one more time we have to differentiate and see whether it is the negative value. All these are obtained. If you are interested, you can go to the mathematics, and this is the final proof. In simple terms, the RS and RL, if they are equal, then the maximum power is transferred. It is mathematically shown. Now, we will quickly move on to one more theorem, that is called reciprocity theorem. We will see just what it is. It is not that much used nowadays in circuit analysis, but even then we should know what it is. So, what is what? That kind of status we will take it up for discussion. Reciprocity theorem. In its simplest form, the reciprocity theorem states that if an EMF E in one branch of a reciprocal network produces a current I in another, then if the EMF E is moved from the first to the second branch, it will cause the same current in the first branch where the EMF has been replaced by a short circuit. We can draw a reciprocal circuit by replacing the voltage source with the current source, so that they have the same effect. That is the meaning of this reciprocity theorem. We can have this as the explanatory diagram. The circuit in the figure is a concrete example of reciprocity. We can determine the values of the current I in the two cases, which will be approximately equal to 0.35 ampere. We can work out. See, the voltage source is replaced with the short circuit current, and similarly here the current is replaced with the voltage source. And if you are changing the polarity, accordingly the current directions are to be considered. So, we have seen the concept of reciprocity theorem with what is what kind of understanding. I think it is now time for us to go for the summary of today's lecture. Let us see the summary of today's lecture. In this lecture, we have seen the concepts of network theorems, especially the superposition theorem, maximum power transfer theorem and reciprocity theorem. Before we wind up this lecture, let us test our understanding by answering these questions. State and explain superposition theorem with an example. State maximum power transfer theorem and give a proof based on the calculus approach. State and explain reciprocity theorem with a circuit diagram. So, with this I would like to wind up today's lecture. See you in the other lectures with the other concepts related to electricity and magnetism. Thank you for watching this program.